Hey Petaluma, what is going on with the road diet? I'm here on Petaluma Blvd South between E and F Street. They're starting to change the layout of the lanes. They're going to be changing some of the sidewalks. They're taking the old 4-lane design and they've incorporated a modern road design tool called the road diet. The road diet is just one of many different tools that a city can use to make its streets more complete streets, to make its streets not only accessible for automobiles, but to also make it safer and easier and more desirable for people to walk, bicycle, use a wheelchair, a one-wheel, scooter, whatever means of transportation that you want. The old Petaluma Boulevard design had 4 narrow lanes for traffic and poor parking, and they're replacing that with 2 lanes. And now there's going to also be a middle left-hand turn lane. There's also going to be a new bicycle lane. This is what transportation planners call a road diet. Fortunately, we already have a road diet section installed on Petaluma Boulevard just north of Washington Street. Some of the concerns people have about the road diet when they first hear about it is, well, isn't it going to be more dangerous for cars? Actually, the opposite is true. The road diet is safer for cars.
4-lane roads have quite a few conflict points. These are places where accidents could happen. There are rear ends and there are multiple left turn crash scenarios. Now look at what a 3-lane reconfiguration does. There are far fewer crash points. A road diet can make it easier for left turns. Shared middle lane takes the left turners out of the traffic flow so they won't hold up the drivers who want to continue through. And now the left turners will only have to cross 1 lane of traffic instead of 2.
What about emergency vehicles? Isn't the road diet going to make it more difficult for emergency vehicles to get through? But actually, the road diet design makes it easier and safer for emergency vehicles to get through. You could argue as to how much longer Petaluma will continue growing in population, but I say for the foreseeable future, it's safe to assume we're going to continue building more housing, we're going to continue attracting more people, and the population is going to continue to grow in Petaluma. For the past 70 years in Petaluma, we've been building for the car, we've been building around the car. It's all about the car. Everywhere you go, you're going in a car. I think we're done building roads and streets. Well, how can we make the existing road system we've got better? Our Petaluma Public Works Department is at the beginning of taking a look at Rainier Avenue from North McDowell over towards Sonoma Mountain Parkway and taking a look at, well, needs repaving, obviously. What else should we do to make this a more complete street, to make this a better street for everybody who's using it and for everybody who wants to use it? They've got a meeting coming up next week, February 23rd. It's Wednesday evening. Come check that out if you want to see what's going on and if you want to add your public input. The road diet is one of the ideas that will be looked at for this section of Rainier. It'll be interesting to see, well, what can we do to make this not just functional for cars and not just functional for bicycles and pedestrians, but what can we do to make this desirable for pedestrians and bicyclists and other alternatively wheeled vehicles? What can we do to make this desirable and safe for everybody to use, everybody who wants to use it? North McDowell, I think off the top of my head, I think has something like 20,000 car trips per day going by, but Rainier only has 5,000. This might be the perfect solution for it. And of course, people in general don't like change. They don't like the idea, hey, you're changing it from 4 lanes to 3 lanes. Isn't that going to make it worse driving around town? And no, actually, it's going to make it safer driving it around town. Obviously, it makes it safer for bicyclists and for people walking. Some people are concerned, well, if we go from the 4-lane design that we currently have down to the 3-lane design, doesn't that make it more difficult for emergency vehicles to get through? Actually, the opposite is true. The road diet design has been shown to be more effective for allowing emergency vehicles to get through when they need to get through. We just spent the last 70 years designing for more cars going faster. That's pretty much been the design principle of land use in Petaluma and everywhere else in California, everywhere else in the country. And as we think about 5 years from now and 10 years and 20 years from now, as we think about more people living in Petaluma than currently live in 2022, does that necessarily mean that more cars need to be on our roads in 2022? I think the answer is no. We don't have to have more cars driving around. We don't have to have more vehicle miles traveled. As we continue to grow, what can we do to cut back on the amount of vehicles driving around town at any moment? What can we do to cut back on the amount of vehicle miles traveled in automobiles? And what can we do to make it more desirable for people to walk around a little bit, to ride around a little bit? No, every trip doesn't have to be on a bicycle. No, every trip doesn't have to be on your feet. But what if we made a street like Rainier not just functional for bicycles and functional for pedestrians? What if we made it safer and more desirable to say, hey, let's go walk up and down Rainier because it's an awesome street for walking. What can we do to make it Rainier an awesome street for bicycles?